Welcome to the Billy Ho Forecast Show. Please subscribe and like the video. Remember, the more you share, the bigger we grow. Now, let's go! Hello, Billy Ho here. I'm with the DFS chef, David, winner of last week's U.S. Open Billy Ho contest. And we are here this week to talk Travelers Championship. It will be in Cromwell, Connecticut, played at TPC River Highlands. And we're going to get into a little bit of course fit, course history. We're going to break down the players. Stay tuned. Watch the video because somewhere 3/4 of the way through, we're going to hit the sleepers. And if you watched last week, you got some damn good sleepers. 2% Adam Hadwin bailed me out because I whiffed on Webb Simpson so bad that had Webb Simpson made to cut it +3, I probably would have tripled what I got back. But your week was obviously great, or pretty good at least, because you won a damn Billy Ho. So that's a nice little chunk of change. What was it, like $70? Yep. So that's good. But how you feeling this week?
I'm good. Last week was good. Between the sleepers that we gave out, because also mentioned McCarthy last week in the video. If people go back and watch last week's video, at the end I mentioned McCarthy, and then in the comments section, if you notice, Swirlman put Damon down as his sleeper. So
yeah,
if you would put Hadwin, McCarthy, and Damon in your lineups last week,
reasonable. Yeah.
Exactly, it's all reasonable. I put it in our Discord. You could have gone to a chalky Fitzpatrick, and you still would have had $10,600 for your life.
You could have played whatever you wanted. I mean,
exactly.
Thrown in Cantlay or whoever, and you were rolling. You played Cantlay. I don't know. You said 10-6. You could have had Cantlay and Morikawa, I think.
Oh yeah,
and then
no problem.
Fitz.
You could have.
And then those three, that would have probably been what we call in the industry the nuts.
Exactly. You could have had Rory Rahm, I think, if you wanted to.
Rory Rahm,
It was there. It was there last week. Had you played those three sleepers that was in that video last week, you could have probably crushed it.
Yeah, but most definitely. I mean, I had him. I didn't have Damon. I whiffed on him, but I took what you said and looked it up and did my own research and confirmed what you were saying. And with the 2% ownership at the late ad was like, okay, I'm going 30%. So that I had that in a lot of lineups. But we're going to go ahead and jump in here and hit this week's. All right, Dave, as usual, winner of the Billy Ho contest. You can start us off in the 10K range and give us a few plays there. Who you like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be waiting to hear some news because I have to think that we're going to have some more possible WDs coming today and possibly tomorrow. So keep your eyes open. That. Keep your eyes open on the news and see who WDs, because I do think there's going to be a few more. But from the top range here, I got to go with course history guys here. So for me, Rory, he's grading out number one in my model. So I'm definitely going to probably continue to ride the Rory train if he doesn't WD, but he likes this course. You can see based off of his history here. And then Patrick Cantlay as well. So definitely those two. And then, if I got to go with a third up top in this 10K plus range, it's kind of a coin toss for me with Sam Burns or Xander Schauffele right now. And I think it's for those two, I think it's probably just going to come down to who's garnering more ownership. And I have to think that Xander is probably going to garner more ownership. So I might be going Burns, especially for GPP plays. The other two guys, Rory and Cantlay, I definitely love in cash games.
Yeah, I feel you there. I was looking at the same stuff. I was actually checking the schedule real quick, like you said, looking for WDs and whatnot. And next week is John Deere. So you might see guys maybe go ahead and play it out this week if they've had a week off recently or whatever, and then skip John Deere and then head over to Scotland for the Scottish Open. and then they might just stay over there and then play in the Open Championship, which is the following week or a week after that or whatever. So that's a possibility. But yeah, the first guy I had down here was Cantlay, who I thought had a pretty good showing at the U.S. Open. His off the tee game was solid. He had the putter rolling. I think he still needs to clean up that approach game a little bit. He was a little buggy there, and he had a pretty good Sunday. T14, not too bad. But I'm seeing here, and we might as well just go ahead and start cracking into ownership, is right here. He's showing the highest owned guy in the entire range, which I don't know. That sounds kind of crazy to me. And this right here is free this week if y'all want to check it out. But I hate that they changed the name from Awesemo to Stoketastic or Stoke, whatever it is. It just sounds, it's just awkward. But anyway, up here, it's free this week, ownership projections. The only caveat I say is I learned from a guy that this ownership totals is supposed to equal all players equal 600, and this one equals 601.6. I don't know how crazy that is, but there's a couple of there's definitely like Brendan Steele 22%. That's too high. So they're off on some stuff here, but they're having Cantlay at 18%, which is fairly high, and Rory, it's fair 23%. It's really going to be tough for me up top here, but because we'll get into the 9Ks here in a second, and I'll kick us off there because I like more guys in that range than I do. You can't doubt Scotty. The dude plays Pete Dye courses, and Rory, great course history. JT, I don't know about. Sam Burns, I mean, he seems like a great pivot if Cantlay's going to be super high owned, because Sam Burns is playing absolutely lights out golf. He proved it last week once again at the U.S. Open. So I don't see anything wrong with him paying a couple of $100 extra for an 8 to 10% discount on some of this ownership. So you could spread out a little bit or take your stands, one or the other. I think I'd rather take stands down in like the 7K range and maybe the low 8s, and then maybe spread a little bit here, 25, 25, 25 kind of thing. But here in this 9K range, I find quite interesting. And I am going to take a look here. Let's see. This is a rolling report I did on my stat model, which was the one I showed you the other day, which is actually this. Good drives, approach, around the green, birdies. I got a little more putting in here because I think putts per green in regulation the last several years, the winner has been top 3, number 1. So it's going to be putting. Greens gained, obviously, and wedges. So that's what this rolling report is. And in the 9Ks, I'm still looking at Spieth, even though he's kind of slipped in this range because he won here with the big dramatic hole out from the bunker, when he does the big jump in the air with his caddy that we see all the time. That was here, 2017. And his ownership will dictate that some. Sungjae M, I always like Sungjae M, but this course, I keep hearing people talk about hitting the draw. This guy hits the draw. So I don't know if that's 100% accurate on these driving holes, that a draw is more important. But guys like Bubba, Brian Harmon are left-handers who fade the ball. So that's basically same direction. I mean, if you look at the tournament history, guys, let's see, here's stroke gain total. Brian Harmon, Kevin Streelman, Cantlay. Cantlay hits a predominantly draw. Ches hits a little draw. Jason Day. Some of these guys can shape it either way. But I'm kind of interested in that. So this might not exactly be the course fit for Sungjae. I think he had a 25th after gaining 5 strokes putting a couple of years ago. So if he's not gaining with the putter, I think he might be a pretty pedestrian for the price you're paying. But I love Joaquin Neiman. The man has just become an all player caliber guy where it doesn't really matter the course, but this course he's pretty damn good at. I mean, he's got a pretty good history here. And I'll flip the salaries and we'll take a look. You know, he's the 63 wasn't great, but that was I think this was like one of the first two tournaments right out of COVID. So I can forgive that a little bit. But the T5 in 2019, T36 last year, but this year he's, you know, we obviously turned the corner. The man is won Genesis, and Pat Mayo said it, and I don't know if it's completely corollary, but I did add it in my comp course model. And I believe this is my comp course model here. I added in Riviera because for some reason, like Bubba, Neiman plays well. People that play well at Riviera translate to this course. You know, I'm not taking it for what it's worth, but I'll throw it in a comp model just to even things out. I threw in a lot of Pete Dye courses, but I also threw in easy scoring courses, smaller greens, because these greens are like 5,000 square feet, I believe. So Neiman, I'm going to be super high on Neiman. And then once you get down here a little bit, I'm really going to have to consider Keegan. He played so well last week, and he's still up northeast, and I'll keep an eye on him. Tony Finau missed the cut, which sometimes can be a good thing. And, you know, bent grass Tony, this kind of bent Poa mix, but he's good up northeast. So I might look at him again. And then the guys down here in the low nines, I'm really going to be hitting some Harold Varner. And I think big game Seamus. I mean, once again, knocking it out of the park at the U.S. Open last week. I hope I didn't take too many golfers, but I kind of just got on a roll there talking about some guys here. But I think Dave, and if you want to hit on the same guys, that's fine with me. You know, you're always going to have a different take either way. So hit me up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in agreement on a lot of these guys. I do like Spieth. Sung Jae, he's grading out second in my model, but I don't know about Sung Jae. I mean, here we are, $7,600 last week, and now he jumps up $2,100 this week.
Yeah.
I know the field is not as strong, obviously, that we saw last week at the U.S. Open, but that's a huge jump in salary to go up $2,100, and it could be a good thing that he missed the cut. And you know, how many people are going to pay an extra $2,100 for him this week after missing the cut? But I'm on the fence with him because I like, even though he's grading out second on my model, I'm with you. I like Neiman over him this week, so I'll probably have more Neiman than I will him. And then also Seamus Power. I do like Seamus Power this week as well. I mean, we got a lot of strong golfers in the 9K range, but I can even understand seeing people fade this 9K range this week to go ahead and get two guys that are 10K plus, you know, if they wanted to go like Rory Cantlay or Cantlay Xander or whatever the case may be. I can see people fading this 9K range this week. So the 9K range could be very sneaky because you can get, you know, easily two or if not three 9K guys in there. So it's going to see, I think the 9K range is going to be definitely like where you might see GPP's one this week.
Very well could be. I don't know. I keep looking at these two different ownerships, and I hate that because I know that Fantasy National is the ownership is just an estimate, and it's a math problem. I mean, I forgot what it was. I saw it on a podcast. They take something times 3.14. It's like the pi or something. I don't know, but there's a formula, and then you get dummy ownership. So it's going to be hard to dictate where all this lands. And, well, we'll have to see. I'm going to do my late Wednesday night, early Thursday AM builds again. So I'm going to be waiting on weather. We haven't touched on weather, but weather does seem to be not too awfully windy, but there's going to be showers sometime in the in the forecast, whether they're going to be earlier in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, or they're going to be later, pushing back day by day. If you check out the Discord, I'll probably update that. And if you're up late like me, you'll get a really good glimpse at it because I'll pull up the radar and I'll post pictures of the incoming radar, and we'll see where we're at Thursday morning. We're going to go ahead and jump into the 8K range, Dave, and I'm going to let you roll that one, and then I'll take the 7s, or I'll take the 8s after you, and then roll into the 7s.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Davis Riley this week. He's definitely priced up. We don't see Davis Riley this high, but he's showing that he's found something in the game. He did slip a little bit last week, but come on, that's 31st. I think it was his first U.S. Open that he had played. But what we look at is that he was still gaining strokes on approach last week. So it's something definitely that I'm looking at with Davis Riley. Even though Aaron Wise is grading out really well in my model, I'm on the fence with him right now. Something in my gut has got me saying to possibly fade Aaron Wise this week and maybe look at Mito. Mito, even though he missed the cut last week, he missed the cut by a stroke. He finished +4, just like a lot of guys. So I do see Mito as a good bounce back this week. If we're going course history, then, you got to look at Brian Harmon. But just like him, his salary went up $1,600 this week. But I do think he's going to be a solid, guy to stick in cash lineups. Webb could be a possible, bounce back this week, after missing the cut by a stroke. That this guy for years was the guy that was on my list of guys not to play, but Leishman looks like he does pretty well at this course, and he came out pretty solid last week. So I don't mind Leishman. Even though McCarthy was my boy last week, I can't see me, paying $8,300 for Denny McCarthy. What was he, $6,700 last week, and now he's bumped up $1,600 because he finished 7th last week. But if you look at his track record here isn't all that great.
No.
And I don't know whether it's maybe because he's at home, because Denny McCarthy is a Maryland boy. So I don't know if being at home might be putting a little extra pressure on his shoulders, but I just can't see myself paying $8,300 for Denny McCarthy this week when I can save $200 and go to a guy that actually has really good course history here. He's also riding 4 straight made cuts and a proven winner on tour. I can save $200 and go to Jason Day over Denny McCarthy this week.
Yeah, no doubt. I was looking at that too. And actually Jason Day was getting a little bit of ownership, and usually people are scared to death of Jason Day, and you see him at 3 to 5%, but people are noticing that. So he's looking, and he's had a couple of weeks off. He didn't play the U.S. Open. And let's see, there's Jason Day there. Yeah, he didn't play Canadian either. So he last played at Memorial, and he's got a real good record here. So I could see that. He's going to be probably 12%, which is kind of high for him, but it's not bad for the overall, for ownership wise. 12% is not going to kill nobody. Keith Mitchell, I'm out on. He's just not. He had the 7th, and he had a real good run there, but I don't think he's quite the course fit. Just the way he strikes the ball, and obviously those 2 back-to-back missed cuts. I was really focusing a little bit heavier on course history. You almost took the words right out of my mouth with Aaron Wise. I wrote down almost the same thing. I said I'm okay with Fleetwood, and I'm definitely giving a look to Power. They should all be at good ownership. I think low ownership. Wise, Mito, and Harmon are going to be chalky. I faded Wise last week, and he didn't burn me. He was right there up at the lead, but he fell off on Sunday and finished T27. So, he didn't get me like he did at Memorial. But he also doesn't have I don't think he's going to be a real good course fit here either. But he's gaining so many strokes on approach. He may break that mold, because we know after he won it was at Trinity, Byron Nelson a couple of years ago when he won that first, and his girlfriend turned her cheek on him to kiss him. He went into this funk where he played like garbage for almost 2 years straight. So these 2 missed cuts here or I mean the one missed cut last year, and a T46 or whatever. It might be anomalies. I don't know. I'll have to compare ownership because this whole area is going to be really, really. But you know what? Somebody's suffering because you can't have 15% Webb, 20% Brian Harmon, 20% Mito, 18% Aaron Wise, 18% Riley. You can't play all these guys. You could probably bang two of them together in a lineup, but you're not playing all of them. So the ownership, I mean, hashtag math, like my man Degenerate 75 says, you can't, the math won't add up. So we'll just have to see who's made to suffer and who's not. You can pay attention to podcasts. I believe Harmon's going to get the ownership, but I think that's chalk I'll eat. He's just playing so well. He finished 43rd at the U.S. Open, but he played so well for being a short knocker on a big boy course. He played out his ass. Really, he played really, really well. And of course, he had the miscut in 2020 right out of COVID. Might have been a little rusty, but he's obviously top 10 in every other tournament. So down here, and we didn't polish it off. Coke Rack, I'm still on the fence. Obviously, the missed cuts. He's not playing well. I think he's lost the putter, and if he's lost the putter, I don't want anything to do with him. I'm going to take a closer look because he's going to be like 1% owned. And he has the talent, and he is good on par 70s. So I'm going to look into him. And bumping right into the 7K range, Brendan Todd, he's already getting, I thought for sure I was going to be a little bit slick anyway, but he's too good of a course fit. And of course, his recent form is too good. I should have known he wouldn't go unnoticed. He's going to be probably 12 to 15% owned, I think. And he's got good course history here. He's so accurate, and he's good with the irons. He's good with the wedges, and the man putts well. So I'm definitely on him. Seabez is another one. And these guys, I mean, we're in another logjam right here, really, because it's going to be Todd, Bez. I think Bez goes way under owned, actually. And this dude straight makes cuts. We all know that. And he's a short knocker, so he's not going to suffer too bad on this course. So I really like him. They're around the green and putting bails him out all the time. So I always like that in a golfer if they don't have their best stuff. And hey, if they're ball striking it well, it's a bonus. You're going to be a top 10 in it, with a $7,800 guy. Brendan Steele playing way too good over his skis. Finally, he usually starts off the year in that Sony and that Hawaiian swing and usually tears it up there, but he didn't. But now he's really, really playing well, back-to-back top 10s, PGA champ, 9th. Dude can score. He did miss the cut last year, but he still has a 6th the year before. Mav McNeely, I don't know if the shines wore off of him, 2 missed cuts. We'll have to see. Mav McNeely's always good on these kind of courses. He did have a 30th last year. And I'm kind of indifferent. I think I'm going to have to go back to Damon because the T10, and he's really not looking like he's going to get a lot of ownership. I thought for sure, usually people recency bias, right into it and say, wow, Joe Damon, he was right there in the final groups in the in the U.S. Open. That guy's, 20th in 2020. He's made some cuts here. And he's a good course fit because he's an accurate driver of the ball. And the dude gained, I believe, 8 strokes on approach at the U.S. Open last week, if I remember right. And that is just flat out amazing. So I'm going to have to give him a look. And the last guy I want to mention here, and then I'm going to pass it to you, Dave, for 7Ks and then sleepers. And I think I'm going to give my first sleeper. It's also the last guy in the 7K range, and it's Mac Hughes. I'm back on the Mac Hughes train. I'm going to forgive the miscut last year. He's got proven top 5 ability, and he's got a really great run of made cuts. And for some unknown reason to me, the dude is always over 8K, and I'm like, this guy's why do they price this guy at 8,200 in this field? Well, now he's 7,400. So thanks. You finally priced him where he should be, and I'm going to play him because I think he's definitely under 10%. And he was really good last week at the U.S. Open. And, you know, he ball strikes it when he can, but he just gets it done. And he was 2.3 on approach gained at the U.S. Open, and he's got a pretty good course history. So that's going to be my first sleeper on the board. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Dave, and you run through some 7K guys and start us off on the sleepers and your 6K plays.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on all the 7Ks that you mentioned. I'll probably have a good amount of ownership on Brendan Todd. I mean, Brendan Steele is a great ball striker. He's found his game. Like you said, normally he does really well on, you know, that Hawaii kind of swing, West Coast swing, and he didn't this year, but now he's found the game. So I do think Steele's going to garner a lot of ownership. I think you already said that he's looking like he's going to gain a lot of ownership. So Bezuidenhout could be a great pivot off of Steele this week. McNeely, a guy that's always good on small greens. So, you know, I'll be looking at McNeely. Damon, same thing. I'm in agreement with you on Mackenzie Hughes. Mackenzie Hughes is probably going to be someone that is going to be in a lot of my lineups this week. For sleepers, I mean, I don't know where the ownership is right now, but I think CH3, Charles Howell III, might be a good sleeper this week at $7,200. He hasn't played this course in a long time, but did have a top 20 the last time we saw him at Memorial. So he's taken off a couple of weeks. He's usually a guy that grinds out, makes a lot of cuts. I mean, he did miss the cut at Byron Nelson, but overall, he's a guy that makes a good amount of cuts. Ches has seemed to have found his game recently. So I don't know where Chez's ownership is, but Ches could be another sleeper right at $7,200 this week. I'm always someone that likes Troy Merritt. Troy Merritt's a guy that has that potential. He usually outscores his finishing position.
Absolutely.
The guy scores a lot of DK points. So I can see Troy Merritt as someone you can look at.
I'm going to star him right now because that looked like 2% ownership or worse.
Yeah.
Not great in the comp model, but we know how well he's been playing this year. He's got good around the green game. So I'll keep an eye on that one. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's two more guys in that 7K range that I think should be lower owned. Maybe not Lonto, because Lonto's in that range that Rick Gaiman always loves. He's in that like really low sevens or under 7K range. And whenever Lonto's that price is when he usually, you know, gives you like 10x, 12x what his salary is. Didn't do all that well here last year, but the two previous years he played here, 24th and 38th in 2018. If he can give you that finish for $7,100, I definitely don't mind Lonto. And then the guy that's all of a sudden been making cuts. I think he's riding 5 straight made cuts. And, you know, we always talked about him in the past. He's part of Team No Putt, but I do believe that Poa and Bent are like the areas that he actually is pretty net neutral with his putter, but he's riding that 5 straight made cuts. He did miss the cut here last year, but Emiliano Grillo,
yeah.
You know, all of a sudden seems to have found his game again. You know, he's an excellent ball striker, great on approach. Guy just can't putt, and you know, all we need from him is a made cut. So I'm sure he's going to be sub 5%. So there's another sleeper. And then as we go into the 6K range, which obviously almost every 6K play is going to be, you know, a sleeper.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at the ASs, you know, the Adam Svensson and Austin Smotherman pairing, both at $6,800 this week. Those are two guys that I'm looking at as possible 6K plays this week. And then going down even further, Andrew Putnam. He's always a guy that, you know, he reminds me of like a James Hahn. The guy can miss 9 cuts in a row and then all of a sudden pop up out of nowhere.
What was his price? There he is.
he's 6,600 this week. I mean, he
I
did
knew
finish
it. He made it. Yeah. Last week, 31.
Yeah.
I was looking at him and I just thought, man, I could not get him into lineups, and he played well.
Yeah. And I'm hearing, Adam Shank's name being mentioned. However, Shank's course history here, not too good. So I'm looking at Putnam over Shank at that exact same price. And I'm sure Shank's going to probably gain some steam since his name being mentioned. And I'd rather go to Putnam this week. And then I'll go like maybe two more guys here for you.
Okay. Yeah.
This guy has been on tour a long time. He's definitely had a very tough year this year. I don't know if it's due to injury, but
Don't do it, dude.
But Charlie Hoffman,
I knew it.
Charlie Hoffman might make a build or two for me. I don't know where his ownership is, but 35th at the RBC Canadian. Again, all we need is a made cut. Now, granted, he's missed a ton of cuts this year, but his track record, he's a much better golfer than 6,500. So I got to think that something's not right with him. And I'm leaving plenty of guys for you to choose because I do like several other guys in this range. But the last sleeper I'm going to mention is down at $6,200.
Ooh, nice.
Another guy that his game has kind of fallen off, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen his name going over to the Live Tour. But he's made 3 straight cuts in a row. Granted, the finishes aren't great, but for $6,200, all I need is a made cut. He did miss the cut here last year, but he missed it by 1 stroke. So maybe I'm willing to take a share or two of Brent Snedeker because I'm sure he's going to be less than 2% owned.
Oh yeah. I feel you there. Actually, I hadn't gone down that low yet, but 6,200 for a guy that can chip and putt like wildfire when he's on, he just rolls that rock. So I'm with you there. And actually, Charlie Hoffman, Charlie fucking Hustle was one of my sleepers. And you're right. I played him. He was one of my plays. If you remember our show for the Canadian, I was on him. I said he eats par 5s for breakfast, and he played really well. He just had a god awful Sunday. I went back and looked because I've forgotten because he was in on the first page of the leaderboard. And I was like, oh my God, my 2% Charlie Hoffman just come through for me. And then he fell back to 35th. And I think I still ended up making profit that week, but it could have been so much better. So he fell back to 35th, but you're right. Ever since last fall, he's been dealing with some kind of back issue. He had several withdrawals earlier in the year, but he has been actually teeing it up recently. He just hasn't been playing well, but maybe he's turned a corner and figured out a little something. So we'll keep an eye on that. Back up here though, you said the asses, Austin Smotherman and Svensson. I actually had Svensson written down, but I also go up here a little bit more to the lost AS is Alex Smalley. No course history here, which is a slight concern to me, but he lost a bunch of strokes, I believe, at Canadian Open and still finished 21st. He lost 4.2 strokes putting. So I look for a bounce back in the putting department. And he usually ball strikes it pretty well. He's really, really good at 400 to 450. So I like him. I was going to say Nick Hardy again because I brought him up at the Canadian Open and he came through. And then what's he do? He runs it right back. And I didn't have as much of him as I did at Canadian Open, but at 14th at US Open, I was like, damn, this guy's rocking. Then I went and looked why he got 14th. 9.38 strokes putting gained. He was pretty average to below average in every other facet. They was right around even with the field and ball striking and around the green play, but the putting is what carried him. I don't know that he does that again. He very well could. I don't know. Maybe he gets on a hot streak and he gains 4 strokes putting and he T20s or something. 7,100. Nobody's still going to play him. So I might keep an eye on that. CT Pan was another one. He seems like a course fit, but the course history didn't look all that great. Let's see. CT's up here. Yeah, a couple of really bad missed cuts. He does have some back class here, and he's got a couple of made cuts with not really great finishes, but people were getting ready to fire on him. I forget which one he withdrew back here somewhere. They were going to fire him up, and he canceled on him. And then everybody thought he was going to the Live Tour, so he still may do that. I'll be interested in him because he's going to be low owned. And then I just wrote this down for down here, trending. And these are guys who are trending in my like rolling stat model. So let's see if I can get here real quick. Johnny, Johnny, he seems to be trending, and he's kind of an accuracy guy, pretty good player. I didn't really check his tournament history. I felt like he's done all right here.
He hasn't played.
But he hasn't played in a long time. That's what it was. I couldn't remember. Yeah, minus 3.47 total strokes, but I don't know how many tournaments he's played. And it's just but I'm just looking at his recent form trending upwards, because his last 8 rounds, he's 16th in the field. And then he was 24th in the last 4. 33-41 for a 6,800 guy. That's making the cut. Another one trending, obviously, Svensson. We already talked about him. Wyndham Clark, who was really, really in the mix. What was he? Is he 6,700? 7th place at Canadian. And so he's got a couple missed cuts here, but he does have a 15th. He bombs and putts, and he might be able to use that to his advantage this week. The last guy, and this is, it's kind of like rolling the dice with this guy sometimes, but Danny Lee. Is this going to be a Danny Lee week or not? I don't know, but he is definitely trending upward, and the dude can flat out score when he's on his game. All righty then. Well, that's going to do it for the Tuesday show for the Travelers Championship. I want to thank my man David, the DFS chef, for being on with me. His stat model is still available. Hit him up in the DMs on Twitter at the DFS chef. Still going to be $5 for the rest of the season, $25 for all of next year. So bundle them together and hook up with my man for $30, and you're going to get a great stat model with all kinds of different statistical categories. So money well spent if you think about it. And also keep an eye out this week. It's a little bit of a major hangover week, possibly. So there might be some overlay. Enter the contest like the Billy Ho. Make sure you get in that. Links in the description. I'll post it. And we want to get that filled. We've been pushing 40, so let's get that 40. Like and subscribe to the channel. Last thought, keep an eye out. Enter the contest you want to enter, but be on the lookout for overlays. So if you want to do that early AM Thursday morning, check out some contests. They might not fill. I don't know what DraftKings is doing with the prices, so check it out. And for David, thank him for joining me as always. This is Billy Ho. Until next time, peace.